course so, and welcome to a look at our medium Outworld. Our medium Outworld will be assembled by you in the comfort of your own home, and it includes the V2 modular port that you can find on all of our new version 2 range. You can see the modularity port at the front, which can be very easily changed by unscrewing 2 screws. This means the barbed connector can slot out, and instead of that you can either have a blanking cap, you can use a test tube adapter, or you can connect it directly to a nest or hub. The lid is very easy to remove and to put back together, and all of our threads, the screws thread directly into brass threaded connections. The idea behind this is that they will last longer if you need to remove a piece and replace it, or take it apart to thoroughly clean it. Inside, you will notice there is a slanted area around the outside. This sloped area will prevent waste buildup, and they will avoid using it to throw between the acrylic sides and the base. So, when you receive your small Outworld, you will receive a selection of parts. Parts will come in 2 bags. The first bag will contain all of your acrylic pieces, and the second bag will contain all of your 3D pieces and your screws. So, from the beginning, I'm going to show you how to make it. You start by taking your base. Very simply, up and front, up and back. So, using the engraving, we can see it goes this way up, and the front section points to the front. First thing we want to do is connect this internal piece here. This connects very simply. The holes are at the front, so you can hold it on top here, and you can thread the screws in from the rear. You'll see they go directly into the brass inserts. When you're screwing in the pieces, it's very important not to use any power tools to do this. The power tools will have too much strength, and they will twist the brass threads directly out of the plastic that's holding them there. The best way to do it is to connect all the screws on a single side loosely, and then you can work your way around, reconnecting them, tightening them up until they stop turning. They do not need to be overly tight, they just need to stop turning to hold it perfectly. So, with one more screw, we'll have completed the base section of our Outworld, and then we can move on to the first side. With the base now complete, you can see the front of it is still here, and we have a mirrored side on the inside. So, that simply clips in like this. Next, what we want to do is find the panel with the holes in it for the access. You can see the direction of this panel because engraved into it is FI. FI means front inside. So the side that engraving's on is the front panel, and the engraving goes on the inside, just like that. Make sure you line it up straight, and then you can loosely place these 2 screws here, moving around, loosely placing these 2 screws here. Once all of them are in loosely, you can go ahead and tighten up that panel. Now we have this panel in place. It's very important to do this one first, because if the back panel's on, you will not have very good access to tighten these 2 screws. The entire purpose of these is to provide some strength for the modular port, so if you were to lift the Outworld up and down by the port itself, it would be very well secure. You'll notice by the design of the screws that this tray is actually loose other than these 2 back screws, but is held in situ because of the holes that is there. Now we can move on to the rear panel. The rear panel has the words on it, if I get it the right orientation, BI. So this is the back panel, and the engraving goes on the inside. When you slot it in, the engraving becomes invisible. Once you've lined it up accurately, you can go ahead and insert these 2 screws here. Again, do them loosely by hand at first, and then tighten them afterwards until they stop turning. With the front and rear sides in place, we can now move on to the sides. So we have LI. If we put the orientation to face us, this is the front, back, left and right. So the left inside with an arrow pointing to the front can go just there. These two may be slightly tight and they may need some wiggling in, but that's absolutely fine. And same again for the right inside. You can go ahead and do those 4 screws. And with those 2 screws done, everything is now complete. We can then move on to the top. You will notice that there's 3 sides to each of these threaded connectors. 1, 2, 3. They sit in the corners with a thread facing upwards, and we're going to begin by connecting, again the same order as last time, the front and back sides of each of the top screws. Once I've got those in, I will start the video again. Once you have all 4 of these connectors in, we can go ahead and do the sides. Now when you're doing the sides, you can gently pull it along here and place in the screw when the thread lines up. It's really important, however, that you pay particular attention to when the screw has made contact with the acrylic. There's a deliberate 1 or 2 millimeter gap between the acrylic and the connector. That's to allow you to make adjustments over time, but for any inconsistencies in the thickness of the acrylic, it will always fit. So once you're screwing up, do not over tighten it, because you can create a bow. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to tighten until the acrylic meets each other on the corner side. Once you go ahead and do that on all 4, we can then apply exactly the same principle to the lid. The lid has a deliberate gap from these connectors of around 2 millimeters. So you can use that gap to your advantage by allowing it to make nice contact all the way around with very minor adjustments that you can do as well. There, I over tightened it and it's created a very slight bow. So if we loosen that off, it will be straight again. The lid's marking for which way is front is much more subtle. You see a tiny engraved arrow just here. Excuse the fingerprints in this. This is our demo Outworld, so it's been put together and taken apart many times to test durability. But here we have an arrow. The engraving goes upwards and points to the front. As with the sides, you can go ahead and screw in all 4 screws in this. Again, don't do them overly tight to create warping. Do it until you have a nice flush connection across all sides of the acrylic. With all the top screwed on, we can go ahead and place in the frame, and we can do the connector. And last but not least, the lid. And there you have it. Completed Outworld, ready to be connected to your nest by pipe. If, however, you wanted to connect it directly, be sure to pick up a nest-to-nest connector at the same time you purchase the Outworld. Thank you for taking a look at this with me, and I'll see you next time, where we take a look at the larger Outworld and how we construct